Welcome to the first webinar for Carrot Lane Designathon. It is a great pleasure to have you all today to understand what we are trying to do. It's quite a different design competition that we've created for everyone, for our industry, I would say. And we would like to have as many participants as possible, have people kind of just crack it, and let's see who creates the best solutions. So I would just share my screen to a presentation. Just a second. There. So Carrot Lane Designathon, the idea came about saying it was about that we don't want to do a design competition which only talks about the inspirations. We wanted to do a design competition which created a difference. So that's where the whole idea began. And the thought that we came across was bringing functionality to design. Now, I would like to welcome Mr. Mithun Sacheti, who's the founder and MD of Carrot Lane. And this was his brainchild. So before we get into the details of what this is, we will hear from him on why he thought of this competition. Mithun, over to you.
Hi, welcome to everybody. Hi, actually, I always thought that, when we speak of design and jewelry, we speak so much about aesthetics, and there's so much more to design than just aesthetics. When I hold a glass, for example, a mug, for example, where is the handle placed is so important, because there is so much of sensibility that goes in making sure that it's easy to use as well. Now, oftentimes with jewelry, we've not solved consumer problems. We have not solved that when they wear it, is the weight distribution great? Or is it the right way that they would enjoy? Is it the optimal way in which they would enjoy wearing that jewelry? Many times we come across, and it's so embarrassing, right? We make heavy pieces of jewelry in India. It's a very common thing. And you go at home and I would see that my mom or my aunt would be wearing these heavy pieces of jewelry. And then by the end of this whole evening, they'd come home and remove that, and they'd be having these oohs and ahs and the sigh of relief that they got rid of it right now because it was just so painful to wear. So how could something that you enjoy wearing be like that? I mean, even heels in shoes have evolved over a period of time. They've gotten comfortable finally. So it's about time that we also solve for problems like this that people see around us. And it's one is to start gathering all these problems that people are facing, and second is to encourage people to come up with solutions for doing this. And thus we did not, and so we did not want something which was just a design-led solution. I happen to see this at Carrot Lane a lot on the tech side of our business, where we invite people through hackathons to solve for problems that they're seeing on the website or problems they're seeing in operations as well also. And people would develop in over a matter of 2 days or 3 days programs which would solve for things that were issues that they were noticing around the business, and they'd go about solving it. And that became the inspiration to say, can we create the first designathon, where people would use design and design thinking as a way of solving problems that a lot of us are listing out over here. So it's an attempt that we're making to make sure that we have wider participation in solving problems which solve not for us, but the larger jewelry community overall.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mithun. So this was the idea that came about, and that's where a whole team came together, and we built this whole thing called Carrot Lane Designathon. Before I go through the presentation where we talk more in detail about how to solve these problems, let's see what these problem statements are. So I will take you to the website which we have created. One second. Okay. So Carrot Lane Designathon, the attempt is to move beyond aesthetics. It's time to solve functional challenges. Like Mithun said, it's our mission to find small solutions to small problems that create big challenges that jewelers are facing, that even consumers are facing, and across the globe. It's not India specific, it's global audience who are facing these challenges every day. And here, as a community, we would want to solve them. It's an experience that will challenge the way you look at the designing jewelry and how you think out of the box. An opportunity to discover, create, and innovate. Now, for all of those who are thinking of participating, who is it for? It is for anybody who's looking to revolutionize how people design and wear jewelry. And if you are open, if you're from any field of design, regardless of your education, regardless of your field of expertise, it is open for you. If you think you can solve these problems, please go ahead, and we would be more than happy to see your solutions. What is in it for you? Well, there is recognition, there are royalties. The products which will get selected will be manufactured by CaratLane. They will be uploaded on the website, and whatever sells, there's a percentage of royalty that will be given to the designer. Over and above, the winners will obviously get a good, handsome amount of reward. There'll be trophies, certificates, and an opportunity to work with CaratLane in the future in whatever scope possible. We have a very elite list of jury members. There's Mithun Sacheti from CaratLane. There's Frederick from Paris, who's a very renowned jewelry designer. Me, myself, I'm there on panel as a jury. There is Ms. Shimul Vyas, who's the principal designer and faculty from NID. Kinnari Shah, who's the head of jewelry design and development at CaratLane. There's Akrosh, who's also a very senior member of the CaratLane team. And Mimi Harshad, who's the business head at Shaya. We have broken the problem statements in two parts. There are some for CaratLane, which are specific to a gold and a fine jewelry design. There are others which are for Shaya, which are related more to silver jewelry. So let's see what the CaratLane problem statements are. The CaratLane problem statements, number one is a number of women tend to have drooping earlobes or elongated piercings, because of which various reasons, wearing really heavy earrings for a longer period of time may be one of them. This hurts. In this case, studs or hoops tend to not fit their ears properly, and they avoid wearing them completely. Now, what is your task? Your task is that you need to create studs or hoops that can fit properly on people with drooping earlobes, elongated piercings, and give the wearer a perfect fit while hiding the elongated piercing. So this is the whole idea. You need to create a mechanism through which you can hide those drooping earlobes and elongated piercings. You are required to design a minimum of 5 pieces or a maximum of 10 pieces. Problem statement number 2. With the prices of gold constantly rising, creating unique and differentiated earrings under rupees 10,000, Indian rupees 10,000, has become challenging. So you need to create earrings which are under 1 grams in 14 karat gold, using a maximum weight of 0.05 carats of diamonds. And in case there is no diamonds, you can go up to 1.5 grams. So a very small amount of gold, but you still create an earring which is exciting for customers to buy, and it's affordable to everybody's pocket. Again, you're required to design a minimum of 5 to 10 pieces. Problem statement number 3. The ring sizes varies for everyone. Even the same person experiences size fluctuations in their fingers throughout their life, and even at times throughout their day. Due to this, they need to keep altering the size of the ring to get a perfect fit. This also leads to many people not picking rings as a gift, which is very true. Rings are not the ideal gift options. So you need to create a mechanism through which your rings become more adaptable to various ring sizes. There are 2 already existing mechanisms which we will show in our presentation today. You cannot use that, but you have to introduce a new one. So Bolo mechanism and another one that CaratLane team has recently launched. We will be showcasing that in our presentation. Apart from that, if you can create something new, more than welcome. Number 4 is similar to rings. The wrist size of a person changes throughout their life. This causes issues with the sizing of the bangles, and women tend to either buy or size up to get their bangles altered from time to time. So again, you need to create bracelets which are free sizes for various wrist sizes, and it can be worn by various people. It can be gifted well. That is your task. Number 5, creating jewelry for the little ones is always special. You need to make sure that they does not hurt them, And at the same time, it's secure enough to not open and get lost. This is a very big concern amongst parents who have younger kids, that they can't make their kids wear precious jewelry because it falls and it gets lost or it hurts them. The girls don't want to wear earrings because it hurts them. So that is what we need to make a earring mechanism which is secure, it is user friendly, and it is a locking style that is other than the thin screw and post that we will show you in our presentation. Other than that, if you can develop something, please feel free. There are some rules and regulations. The design language has to be kept of CaratLane design aesthetics and price brackets in mind. Design theme is anything, whenever we know it's a mechanism, but you need to design a whole piece. So the whole piece, you can take nature as a theme, keep it very simplistic, don't get very complicated with the aesthetic part of it, concentrate more on the functionality part of it. Techniques, open to use any technique, any manufacturing technique, setting, what kind of techniques. If you want to develop a new technique, feel free. Materials, you can use gold, diamonds, gemstone, pearls, enamel, and cords. If you want to use any cords anywhere, these are open for you to use. These are basic rules to keep in mind for these problem statements. Rest is open to imagination. For Shaya, there are few problem statements for Shaya. Number one, we have had a lot of customer returns for ear cuffs as they don't fit all ear shapes and sizes optimally. So the task is to design a mechanism of a stylish ear cuff that will fit most ear shapes and sizes comfortably. Ear cuffs are very much in fashion, but how many of us have actually gone ahead and bought a ear cuff and worn? Because one, it's not comfortable, and secondly, it's never like a perfect fit. So can you design a mechanism where it fits perfectly on various ears? And if you can, we will love your entry. Problem statement number 2, hoops tend to flip for some women. Some of us love them, but have not been able to wear them because they just don't fall correctly. Like it just keeps turning at the back. For women, I'm sure you can understand what I'm saying when the hoops keep turning and they irritate you. So if you can design a mechanism for hoops that can be adjusted to tilt the way the wearer wants, then your task is done. And you should design 10 hoops of varying styles, 7 of which are under 10 grams per pair. Number 3, jhumki earrings have always been a favorite style statement for Indians. Yet there has been very little innovation in jhumkis in terms of both weight and styling. Jhumkis are a typical bell-shaped drop that we have in Indian styles. If you Google about it, for people who are not from India, you will understand what we're talking about. And it's always been a very traditional, heavy pair of earrings, but nobody's gone ahead and done wonders when it comes to their weight or styling. It's been very, very typically designed. So if you can innovate in jhumkis, we would love to see your entries. Those are some of the problem statements for Shaya. Rules again are very simple. Keep the Shaya design language in mind. You can go to their Instagram page, which is Shayagrams, and see what kind of jewelry they make. Keep that design language in mind. Design theme is very simple, basic nature. Metal is silver or stainless steel is acceptable for springs, etc. But majorly it's silver components. Plating and color, you can use all kinds of plating, color, gold plated, rhodium plated. Let your imagination flow. Other materials, you can also use like mirrors, enamel, wood, any material which you want to accentuate the ideas with, feel free. Coming back to our page, there are some rules and regulations. I would request everybody who's thinking of participating to download the guidelines and read them properly before you apply and before you start submitting. This is a little timeline we have. The final submission date is very important. It's 28th of April. You have more than a month right now. And these things are not easy to design in a day. So I would request everybody to start now thinking, conceptualizing, so that you have your designs ready to submit before the deadline. Webinar information, like this is one webinar that we're doing today. There's another webinar which will happen on the 10th of April. So feel free to attend that one as well. And registration and submission. This is where we end on the website part. All you need, all the information that you need is available on this page for which is designathon.caratlane.com. Feel free to visit and read about it. If you have any questions, you can always write to us on designathon@carrotlane.com. Now, we will quickly go back to our presentation. Okay. Now, in this webinar today, what you will learn is the importance of moving beyond aesthetics. You will be seeing how developing a more holistic approach towards jewelry design, functionality, production techniques, comfort of use, and multi-purpose usage, all of this make up for a great design. And this webinar will help you with ideas to incorporate them in your work. The theme is raising the bar beyond aesthetics. Today's speakers are Frederick Mane, Shimul Mehta Vyas, Preeta Agarwal, Mithun Sucheti, and Kinnari Shah. This is a very important, I would say, rule of design. For all those who've had a design education background, you will resonate with these three words: form follows function. It is a principle of design associated with late 19th and 20th century, where it is applied, mostly it was applied in architectural and industrial design in general, where they always had the function first, and then they would design the form around it. But in our industry, somehow we've gone the other way. We always create the form, and then we try and put a few mechanisms behind it so that it can be worn. Now we want to take it around and we want to say, okay, function will lead, and then we will beautify it with aesthetics. But the function is most important. That's why form will always follow function. Now, in certain cases, we will also show you a few examples now of what designs have already come about, who have developed some innovative ideas. What happens when form is following a thought? Now, here is a video. Please see it and hear it carefully.
Contemplation is a theme that is really dear to my heart. It's quite personal, in fact. It aims to highlighting the beauty of simple moments, such as the passing of a cloud, the caress of a feather, or a swirling of birds. This challenging time have shown how being connected to nature in that way could do good to the human that we are. Take the time to contemplate, and I hope it will bring you a peaceful moment. Goutte de ciel, sky drop. This necklace was created with the idea of capturing the impalpable. It is like offering a piece of sky. It took a long time, but we have found a material that has the same properties as the sky. This material is called aerogel. NASA used aerogel placed on a panel in space to capture stardust. For me, this material is quite amazing because it has the lowest density in the world. It consists of 99.8% of air, and the rest is silica. Aerogel may be blue here, but its projected shade has the color of the sunset. Our craftsmen encapsulated aerogel in a rock crystal drop, and we choose the choker to be in rock crystal and diamond so as to highlight our sky drop. At the end, when you wear this necklace, it's like wearing a piece of sky on your skin.
Okay, so this is a necklace which was launched by Boucheron in July 2020, which is literally a drop of sky. Now, the thought was how to encapsulate sky in a necklace, and that to a high jewelry necklace. And they actually went about and found a material called aerogel, which is 99.8% of air, and rest is a little bit of silica, and they've encapsulated it. So it's all about the thought. If your thought is powerful and you want to create something, you want to find something, I'm sure if you put your mind to it, you can get there. This is one example. And the same necklace, it's not just the sky drop. It is also a detachable piece. You can wear it just the circular, like the collar necklace, or you can wear the sky drop as a pendant on these beautiful silk cords. So it's also flexible in terms of variability. There's a lot of thought behind it. There's a lot that is going to the client who's actually going to buy this piece. And I'm sure they would be able to flaunt it to the world that they're wearing actually a piece of sky in their necklace. So the thought is leading the whole creation of this piece. Another very interesting video is this one.
Before the frisson. Dandelions represents the lightness and purity of flora. As children, many of us have blown on dandelions and watched the feather-like seeds fly away in the air. The necklace, the earrings, and the ring are figurative. We want it to be as close as possible to reality. The asymmetrical earrings show a large dandelion flower on one side and a diamond-paved dandelion leaf on the other side. This ring is a two-part ring, which offers the freedom to wear. Since one part of the ring is a dandelion flower and the other part is the leaf, both can be worn either together or separately. Every seed is mounted on a titanium thread, meaning the flower isn't rigid but flexible. Every titanium thread is as thin as a hair. We also worked on dandelion in an abstract manner. The choker has a titanium threads ending in gold and diamond seeds. It reinvents the trembler thanks to the titanium threads which react like springs. This way, we get the same vivid effect as on the trembler, but without all the mechanism traditionally required.
So like you heard, the titanium thread has replaced the whole trembler mechanism. There's a whole mechanism which people used to do to make diamonds tremble, and that used to require a spring. There's a lot of things that were put inside that mechanism to kind of make it tremble. Now, just a titanium thread, it has replaced all that mechanism, and that means there's a lot of space that you save inside a piece of jewelry. There's a lot of complexity that you ease out in that, and therefore this whole piece, it's just like a ball, and which has these titanium threads coming out with these little floral buds on the end, which completely makes it the dandelion flower. And you can even have these little popping things popping out as if it's flying in the air. That whole effect has been created just by the thought that, okay, we want to create the dandelion as light as it should be in nature. And that's why they've experimented, and a lot of research and development must have gone and figuring out that titanium can actually act as a spring. Another one for you.
Nuage en apesanteur, weightlessness cloud. For this piece, everything starts with a dream. I dreamt of creating a cloud. A diamond cloud that will be levitating around a woman's neck. We wanted our necklace to have the aerial effect of a cloud and to render its extreme delicateness and lightness. First of all, we didn't start with a drawing, but directly from a cotton mock-up that we placed on a bust. We scanned it, and it allowed us to create the envelope of our cloud. Then we had the chance to meet a programmer, and we explained to him the vision we have for our cloud. So for us, it was droplets of different sizes, assembled with more or less density. Based on those criteria, this programmer created an algorithm. We used this algorithm to create a multiple version of a 3D cloud until we found the perfect one. So when giving life to this cloud, we replaced all the dots by more than 5,000 diamonds. Very small glass balls were added to enhance the brilliance of this diamond cloud. It also has a unique foamy texture. It's quite amazing. It means that if you press it, it will naturally come back to its original shape. At the end, my dream come true.
So like you heard, the whole idea began with a cloud around your neck. And it didn't start with a sketch. It started with this cotton mock-up, which was converted into an algorithm and then actually manufactured. And it is again used with it is also made with using the same technique that we saw in the previous necklace with the titanium wires, so that it acts like a spring. And if you even compress it, it comes back. So it's like literally wearing and titanium is extremely lightweight. So it's literally wearing a cloud around your neck. Weight-wise, look-wise, feel-wise, form-wise, everything is just like a diamond cloud around your neck. Now that was thought. There were thoughts which were converted into jewelry. There are some desires. When I say desire, there can be sustainability. Like Annabella Chan from London, she thought that I want to use recycled aluminum cans for metal because I don't want to use anything which is which harms the nature. I want to use recycled materials. So she went ahead and she uses these aluminum cans that we all throw after having our drink, and she converts them into these beautiful flowers, and she studs them with lab-grown diamonds and lab-grown gemstones. So she wants to go completely sustainable. Everything is formed in labs or in a workshop, and nothing is taken off from the earth. And that's her USP, and she's creating beautiful designs. It might be aluminum, it might be gold, whatever, but the designs are beautiful and people love her jewelry. So it's all about a desire that I want to go sustainable with my business, and there is a solution. She found a complete solution through and through to go sustainable. Another desire here by Alexandra Moore from New York is that I don't want to use ivory, but I still want to get this beautiful carved ivory effect. So they found a material which is called a tagua seed. It is grown in fields. You can grow as many seeds as possible. It is hard as ivory, and you can carve it like ivory. And these are literally carved ivory pieces, the tagua seed pieces, which look exactly like ivory. And this way you're not harming any elephants. It's not illegal. You can grow as many tagua seeds and you can make this beautiful jewelry that she did for one of her collection. So it's all about the desire. Another desire here was the Glen Spiro butterfly, which I'm sure a lot of you must have seen, that he wanted to make his butterfly fly. There's been a lot of butterflies and peacocks that we see in jewelry, but nothing literally moves. He wanted a movement, and like you can see on the screen, the butterfly literally flies on your finger. He developed this cool mechanism which hides inside your palm. All you see is this little support ring which is studded with diamonds. The rest, everything comes inside your palm. This is the mechanism from behind. And you have your butterfly flying. It was all about a thought saying, okay, I want my butterfly to fly. And he created this mechanism, and now you can see this mechanism all over the world. People are making their butterflies fly. There are flowers which are opening and closing. There are peacocks which are flying. It is across the globe. People are using this mechanism. Now, what we are all here for, to understand functionality. So form follows function. What is the function? So like we have listed down the problem statements, which I read out to you. There was one function which I would have Frederick talk about. He was given a design brief from a jeweler and he created a whole necklace around it. Frederick, over to you.
Can you hear me? It's okay?
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be with you today. Such an amazing contest. If I had the students, I will be excited to create a new system. Indeed, it's very important to understand today functionality is a modern way to think jewelry. Now we are kind of nomad. You can travel everywhere in the world. That's why it's important for jewelry designer to understand aesthetic and emotion are important in your process, but functionality bring your design to a modern way, in a modern industry. Let me explain some information about this necklace. You see a very huge design, very royal. The size is like this, more or less, but beyond the style, you can see a lot of different functionalities. It's possible to wear this necklace is in 6 options, more or less. First of all, you have the big necklace. In the center, you can see the biggest alexandrite in the world, but the topic today is to speak about functionalities. This necklace is like an objet d'art, a precious object. But if you want to travel, if you want to wear differently with different styles, it was so important to have the possibility to convert your high-end jewelry piece into a daily piece. At right, you can see a brooch. You have to turn at right the brooch in order to detach it. Also, you have a jewelry tie. My idea is to create like a kind of tie, a system, and you put your finger like this and you pinch 2 buttons like a tie, and you can detach this part and you fix it. You can fix on a long chain, and you have a modern way to wear this pendant. And of course, you can have in the middle a shorter necklace according to your dress. You can modify the style of your royal piece. Today, for billionaire customers, it's very important to have these different options because they live in a modern age. They travel everywhere. They have different types of events, casual, very formal. That's why my best advice is to create very intuitive system, like a tie. It's just a pinch on the button and you can detach this part, or just a short motion to detach a brooch. Of course, it's a complex system, but for the customer, it's easy, like a Lego game. You understand what I mean? It's very intuitive.
Frederick,
That's what my idea.
I have a video to support you. I had taken this video when Jyoti was closing this, so I think this will help.
It was during the presentation in Paris, in the Louvre Museum. It was the launch of the brand. And during the presentation, it was very important to explain to the visitors how it's possible to fix and detach different parts on the necklace. And you can see on the video, only with a small pinch, clip button, you can detach and transform your necklace from a casual brooch into a royal piece.
Guys, I'll also add that if you keep seeing this video, you will see that I'll play it again. The centerpiece, the alexandrite, the properties of alexandrite is that it changes color, and that was a brief for Frederick that this is the world's biggest alexandrite that is set in high jewelry, and he needed to create a necklace around this piece, this centerpiece. See how it glows when the light changes. So even in the display, they had these 2-3 kinds of lights which would keep flickering, and you could see the transformation of the necklace, how it behaves under each light and how it completely changes the dynamics. So the brief was not to design a high jewelry necklace just with any stone. It was with alexandrite. And that's where Frederick's expertise came in play, where he brought out the whole characteristic of Mother Earth that, you know, as if these crystals are literally growing from earth. And he also complemented the centerpiece with these other gemstones, which also
Alexandrites.
they have fluorescence in it, and they shine under these neon lights. Which are the other stones here, Frederick? These smaller ones on the side?
It's mixed with Alexandrite and red spinel from Vietnam.
Red spinel. So these little red dots are red spinels, which also change colors a little bit under the different light and complement the centerpiece. So the idea was, the design brief was very different, and along with making it a necklace around this Alexandrite, he also added so much of functionality around it to make a shorter necklace, to make a brooch, to make a modern version of a tie. You can wear it as a pendant. There's a lot that you can do. So you're offering a lot more to your client. Frederick, I'm going to show you the second one here. You can talk about this one.
Yes, it's a second masterpiece in the collection, the Eternal Flower. I remember, Preeta, you had the opportunity to wear it during the event, and
I was lucky enough to wear this one. Yes,
a beautiful picture. But look, it's the same process from royal piece. I had the idea to convert it into modern jewelry. Look at the right. I had the idea to create reversible earring. From the necklace, you can see two legs, and the system is very easy. Below the pattern, you have a needle. The needle, it's necessary to put the earring on your ear, of course, but when you wear the necklace, it can be dangerous to have a needle. That's why my idea is to have a flexible needle. When you put the legs on your big necklace, you can put down the needle and it enter in a kind of a small box, and you are safe. But when you detach the needle, you can put the earring on your ear. But the system was clever. That's why I had the idea to add two systems in order to have a reversible earring. It's very easy. It's not necessary to call to an engineer to have a map to put your earrings. It's like a Lego game. That's why it's very important to think like a child to create those systems. Of course, you can create a magnificent design, but if you have the child spirit, you can create a very new system able to understand for the final customers. And of course, it's very traditional to have a detachable brush. And at the end, I had the idea to offer to the customer the option to put your earrings on the back. If you have an open dress, you understand, Preeta, what I mean? It's
so the earrings can go here as well at the back.
Exactly, and it's super elegant if you have a dress like this. You put your choker, and if you have a big opening on your dress, you can put the earring. It's very elegant.
Yeah, I think it will be if you have a very beautiful dress with an open back and your hair is tied up, then you put these earrings at the back and it makes a beautiful piece right from the front till the back. So it's been thought throughout. It's not just these two flexible pieces are creating so much variety. You can wear them as two different kind of earrings. You can have them as a elongated necklace piece. You can have them at the back. And it's all to do with a very simple mechanism that he created, and it was put into use, and voila, there you go.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So I think I told you all about the different options. And of course, you can put on a chain the earrings.
Or the earrings can be put on a chain as well?
Yes, on a chain. And you can put both earrings, and you have a daily necklace. And it's very important to have those options because the price for the wall necklace is very expensive. But you can wear every day some elements following your daily style.
Okay, perfect. Lovely. Thank you so much, Frederick. We shall move on to the next slide.
Fabulous, Fred. Really, really interesting.
Okay, moving on. Now, like how we have these problem statements, which we showed you on the Carrot Lane Designathon website, we also have some examples here, which is like how to wear a bracelet all by yourself. Earlier, I remember that, there was a lot of problems, like women are not able to wear the bracelets by themselves, because if it's a flexible bracelet, you always need somebody to tie it for you, to close the lock for you. It's difficult to wear a bracelet by yourself. So here are two solutions that are available in the market, and they are very simple, very clever mechanisms that somebody like yourself has designed. Number one is this beautiful cuff by Oro Bangles. It's literally like a belt mechanism, like how you have this hook at the end of a belt. It's just like that. So it's a clip which you simply put, and there you go. It looks like you're wearing two bangles, but it has a very simple mechanism, easy to wear. A person can wear it all by herself. The other one, which we see a lot these days, are these hollow wire bracelets that you will see here, so that you can wear your bracelets yourself. These are these hollow wires which can be moved, which move, and they are flexible. And there you go. So somebody thought of this as a problem. Consumer is facing this problem, and they found a solution to it. Two examples here. Another one is how to make a bracelet that fits many wrist sizes. This is also a problem statement that we have listed. Two solutions which you cannot use are here. Number one is the stretchable bracelet, which was created by Nirav Modi in the beginning. And it's literally like a rubber band which you use to tie to your hair, and you can stretch the bangle and wear it to any wrist sizes. The other one is a mechanism which Carrot Lane is using in their products, and I would invite Kinnari to talk about this mechanism. Kinnari, over to you.
Hello, everyone. So what you see out here is the Bolo mechanism, and this has come up solving two problems. One, the one size that can fit all, and the other one that a person can wear on their own. So it's a very comfortable one. I'm sure most of you have seen it.
So this is one mechanism, and they also use the same thing in their rings, which if you would see this video. So the same mechanism has been used in the rings. And I think, Kinnari, this is the first time anybody's used this one in the rings?
In India, yes.
In India, yes. Perfect. Because bracelets, we have seen that there are a few people who offer that mechanism on bracelet. But in this video, when I made, I was also very surprised. And I actually ended up ordering the one that the day you launched, I think I ordered one for myself, that I had to have one of this. And it's a very interesting mechanism, simple to use. It fits many finger sizes. Kinnari, you want to talk about the other one that you've recently launched?
Yes. So let them have a view of the video. So this ring flexes up to 3 sizes. We had come across an issue where there were women who had a wider knuckle. And
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So women who have a wider knuckle, when they have a wider knuckle, they need a ring which is a little larger on size, and then when it's worn, it's a little loose towards the finger. So to avoid that and to kind of solve that issue, we've got this ring which flexes up to 3 sizes, so that the wearer can still have a nice snug fit. Someone who's got a solitaire wouldn't want a ring which is loose and keeps moving around. So this gives a very good fit.
That's a very, very interesting mechanism that you have there. And I completely understand, because apart from the knuckle problem, I think there are times like I face this, that in the morning, my rings fit me very nicely and snugly. But by the evening, I think at times that my fingers are swollen up, then it's difficult to remove the ring. It gets stuck. I have to apply cream and then remove it out. So for that also,
True,
there are
very true.
lot of women whose rings, whose fingers swell up. So in that scenario, I think this is a very, very interesting solution. So guys, you cannot use this one, but you can use, you have to design a new one. Another one, which is the kids, how to make it secure and comfortable for the kids. Kinnari, would you like to add something here?
Yeah, so I think our industry has just recently started using the thinner screw posts. Traditionally, we've always been using really thick posts. So this kind of gives a nice solution to that, which is a thinner post. At the same time, we've capped the back. So when a child is wearing it, any touch point at any time, it's still a soft and it does not poke. As you can see, the
back side.
Yeah. Yes.
So even when sleeping, it kind of pokes. If
exactly.
For a kid, if you're sleeping on that side, then the back side, they always say that this pokes us. So I think with this kind of a soft back, it solves that.
It solves, yes, absolutely. And it's secured because even this is a screw mechanism.
Oh, so this is a little screw that you have to pull.
Yes, it is a screw.
It's not like a push and close.
No.
Oh, perfect. So another mechanism for the kids, but guys, you cannot use this one. You have to design a new one for us, and we shall be waiting for your entries. After all these examples that you've seen, and some are about the thought, some are about the desires, and some are actually about the function that we also want you to work on, I would want to take you to Shimul Vyas, and she has some points which are more intangible in thought. Over to you, Shimul.
Thank you, Preeta. Thank you. At the outset, my heartiest compliments to CaratLane and Mithun for conceiving an event like this. And when I was sharing details of this event to my students, I wrote in the mail that I'm beginning to see a shift in the industry. And for the first time, a brand is talking about functionality in jewelry, because as we all know, jewelry is so much about the aesthetics. Yeah. So I have, borrowed from your own theme and, the whole aspect of, design beyond visual aesthetics. Because in jewelry, there is so much emphasis given on the visual aspect and the beauty of the jewelry that, the other aspects do get pushed in the background. And here, I would like to deconstruct the term aesthetics. And I want to talk briefly about tangible aesthetics and more importantly about intangible aesthetics. So when we talk of tangible aesthetics, tangibility is something that you can see and feel and touch. So the design of the jewelry, the visual design, the craftsmanship, the quality of finish and all that is something that qualifies under the tangible aesthetics. Yeah. And to me, the tangible aesthetics is obviously for the wearer, but more so for the viewer, who's going to be looking at the piece of jewelry that you're wearing. And coming to the whole aspect, Preeta, of, intangible aesthetics, here what I mean is that something that you cannot see and touch and feel, but it's something that you experience. Yeah. So adding on to your list of, form follows function, thought, and desire, I think form follows experience also. And when we talk of experience, I'm talking about, I'm bringing the focus on the wearer of the jewelry, the whole experience of wearing and carrying the piece of jewelry. Like Mithun just said, the heavy pieces of jewelry, it's almost painful to carry them, and we need to understand that in today's day and age, I think the ergonomic factor, ergonomics is, the whole aspect of how the user is going to be interacting with the piece of jewelry, how he or she is going to wear carry it. So here in terms of ergonomics, I think the whole aspect of comfort, the whole aspect of effortlessness with which you wear something, yeah. And you've given ample examples of how do you wear a bracelet on your own, where normally you do need help for somebody to, you know, just screw it on and so on. So I think these 2-3 things are very, very important that I would urge the prospective participants of the Designathon also to be, you know, largely focusing on. And, you know, I mean, it may not appear visually, but if something doesn't sit right, if something is going to poke, you know, if something is even psychologically going to give you a discomfort, thinking this is going to fall off or it's not fitting properly, I think it takes away from the experience of wearing the piece of jewelry. Yeah, so this is something that may not be visible, you know, to the people who see the piece of jewelry that you want, but it's extremely important for the wearer. And I think this makes or breaks, you know, the whole experience and what qualifies as good design. So my submission to all, you know, the participants would be that at the, you know, at a very intuitive level, we do need to be paying attention to these aspects also. And when we talk of high jewelry, when we talk of luxury jewelry, it is definitely about the preciousness and, you know, the ingenious concept and all. But I think it's also about taking care of these pain points and making the whole experience of wearing and carrying jewelry a beautiful, you know, aesthetic experience. Yeah. So this is in a nutshell what I would like to convey when we talk of aesthetics, you know, tangible and intangible.
Perfect. That is amazing. The form follows experience is our 4th point for the day. Thank you, Shimul, for that. And that brings us to the end of our webinar today. Thank you all. We have a few questions that you all have been sending out. We still have time. I will read out a few questions and I will put it across to our panelists, whoever it applies to. There's somebody who's asking if I'm working on 2 problems, for example, one is the free ring size and the other is a drooping earlobe. So do I need to design minimum 5 designs of each or minimum 5 designs in total? Well, you have to design minimum 5 designs of each. So each solution has to have 5 designs. Why we are asking for a minimum of 5 designs? So that we can understand that this mechanism that you have created is not just applicable to that one particular sort of a design. It can apply to various designs, because here we are talking about mechanisms. It's not a beautiful flower that we're talking about. It's about the mechanism, and we want to see how you've applied it to various designs, and they all functionally work properly. So that's why we have the requirement of designing minimum of 5 designs for each solution. So you will have to design 5 plus 5. Do we need to make digital designs or hand render works? Well, you can design in whichever medium. You want to design on iPads, you want to design on hand rendering, you want to do on your computers, Corel Draw, Illustrators, whatever the medium, as long as your entry explains to us and visually tells us everything that we need to know how to manufacture that piece and how the functionality aspect will work, we are okay with it. The medium is totally up to you, whatever you're comfortable. You want to draw it out, you want to use any medium, you want to do it on CAD, feel free. We would love to see the designs as long as it is working. I want to ask you that in which format designs will be preferred, digital or hand sketch? I've just answered that. What do you mean by functionality? Well, I think this whole webinar was talking about functionality. So by now you must have got an answer to what we mean by functionality. I am not that good at designing, but can definitely try to solve the problem. How do I explain the solutions and submit my entries? Well, if you're not good at drawing, I would suggest that you try and write, do a basic drawing and try and explain with words of put arrows, do a diagram. It can be very mechanical in approach. It doesn't need to be a beautiful drawing. You can put arrows, describe every aspect, what elements you've used here, where, how does it work. You can do all of that and we'll be happy to read all of that. Do we have to support our submission with a working prototype? No, we will be making a prototype at CaratLane. We'll be working on the solutions which they find practical. They will be manufacturing that. So all you need to do is submit the design and the drawings or the mechanism, however you wish to explain it. I read the details on the website. It states that we have to work on 5 to 10 designs on one problem. So do you expect proper rendered designs? Well, here, like we said, aesthetics are not that important. We don't want you to spend time on beautifying that gemstone and beautifying that diamond with paint and with like a proper rendering. We want the mechanism. So please spend your time, your energy, your thought, and your efforts onto the mechanism, onto the idea. We are okay if it's a basic rendering. We don't want you to spend hours on beautifying the piece. We want you to spend your time on thinking on the mechanism. Will this webinar be published on YouTube? If you've missed this webinar or if you joined us halfway, we will be publishing it on the Designathon website, and we will be sharing the links on my Instagram page, on CaratLane's page. So you will have access to this webinar after, once we finish also. Aishwarya is asking, do we need to participate in both CaratLane and Shaya? No, you can choose to participate. You can choose to work on even any one or two or three or all of them. It's totally up to you. Minimum one problem statement you have to solve to participate. The hand drawing doesn't have to be scale. How do I understand the weight of the design I have made? Well, weight and carat weight, they come with experience. So if you have some experience, you can even take your entry to a jeweler who can tell you how much, if you make this kind of a piece, it will weigh. People who have experience, if you have friends and families in the jewelry industry, they'll be able to help you in how much this piece will weigh. But we need true scale drawings, because with mechanisms, it doesn't work if they're blown up. The blown up versions will help us understand, but we also need true scale drawings in order to actually see that if it's practical enough or not. So true scale is important. What do we need to mention about the idea, the material, dimensions? Well, we need everything. We need some write-up on the idea, or if you can explain it visually or in text, however, what materials you've used, what are the dimensions, we would need all of that in your final entry. Last date of submission is 28th of April. Where can we submit our designs? All designs can be submitted on the Designathon website, which I just shown you. There's like a button which says submit now or submit here, and you need to give access to a drive folder where you've put all your final submissions, and give it an access to us, and you submit it there. Can we work in teams or should it be an individual submission? Well, this I will have to ask Mithun. What is answer to this? Can we work in teams or should it be an individual submission?
Absolutely work in teams. There's no problem with that.
We can work in teams. Well, guys, that's good news. So more minds on one problem, and you can work in teams, and everybody will be credited for it. There you go. Please.
Whatever helps bring out more solutions is more than welcome.
So all we need is a perfectly working solution. You can work in teams. You can do whatever you can, you do to get our solutions. Perfect. If I mention the real measurement, will it do? Yes, perfectly. True scale is what we need. One of my solutions for free size ring is exceeding 1.5 grams of weight. So the solution should be valid only to 1.5 grams. Well, we need lightweight rings. So you still have time, work on your concept and see if you can reduce the weight by somehow. Even if you can like simplify the ring on the top, don't work on the top design. Don't waste your metal or size on the top. Keep it a simple ring. If you can work out the mechanism as simple as a thin gold band, if you can work out the mechanism, we'll be more than happy to see it. It's again, we are saying it's not about the aesthetics, it's about the functionality. So please solve the functionality for us in 1.5 grams and we will be happy to see it. How does a team register? So you can register under one name, I think, and you can, on the submission, you can write that this is designed by so-and-so. You can attach a separate letter saying that we've registered under one name, but here are all the people who put it together. So you can, while submitting, you can put names of all the people who are part of that team. Will we have online jury? The jury is there are the 7 people in the jury. We will be taking a call. We'll be seeing and discussing all the entries that we get. We will be selecting a few which are practical enough to manufacture. We will manufacture those, put it up on the Carrot Lane website, and from those final, how we'll see what is the kind of a response that we get, how practically it's usable by as more people in the world, and accordingly we'll announce a winner. Well, I think we have come to the end of the questions. Anybody else who has any questions? There's one more thing, we have to register again to submit designs. No, you have to just register, and once you are submitting, you just need to enter your name and email ID, and all that detail that you had registered with earlier, it is linked to that email ID that you will enter. So we will know who's submitting the design. You don't need to register again. Will the designs that don't get selected still be used for your collections in the future? Well, if it doesn't get selected, that means they are not valid enough to get manufactured. But those getting selected, but those who do not win, so if you're selected but you do not win, they will be used by Carrot Lane, and there is a royalty for all the selected participants that has been announced by Carrot Lane. So for 1 year, you will be getting royalty on your designs. If we select, manufacture, and put it on our website, then you will be earning that royalty on it. Carrot Lane will also give credit to the designer whose piece it is. So there is credit and royalty for those people. And from those, there will be few lucky ones who will win the final contest. Well, I think there are some more questions, but those are repeats. Royalty for Carrot Lane and Shaya will, with the prize money, they're all mentioned on the website. They're all published on the Designathon website. So if you go, you will see exactly in the terms and condition, it says what is the amount of royalty, what is the amount of prize that you will win. So we want to give the name, we want to give credit, we want to give you monetary benefit out of it, because it's your effort, it's your ideas, and Carrot Lane will do whatever possible to give you that credit and reward. So it is a win-win situation for both the parties, not just one. So please there are no discrepancies there. There's another one, a question saying my drawing is 2 centimeters on paper, but I have mentioned that it should be 1 centimeter in real prototype. Is that fine? Try and do another, send us this 2 centimeter drawing, but also try and do a smaller version in a true scale, and we will try and understand, see whatever is helping us. In case while at the selection stage we feel that we need to get in touch with you to understand it more, we will do that. We will get in touch with people where we feel this design or this idea has potential, but we are not able to understand it maybe correctly. We will be calling you, we will take your help, we will connect with you to kind of manufacture that piece to its true idea. So we will connect with you. It's not that you've just submitted a design and we will go ahead and manufacture it on our own regardless of how good or bad it turns out to be. No, we will call you in case, and we will want to talk to you and understand your idea better. Will our mechanisms be used while the surface designs are changed by someone else, or the design will be produced as submitted by the participant? Mithun, I would need your help here. The question is, will our mechanisms be used while the surface designs are changed by someone else, or the designs will be produced as submitted by the participant?
I'm just trying to understand that better. So are they saying that if the design is changed, it should not be used?
No, so they are asking that if, for example, they have this, for example, hypothetically, if they create a ring mechanism which kind of adjusts to various fingers. So the mechanism is there, and the top part, they are only required to submit like 5 designs for the top, right?
Yeah, it's the mechanism for which the royalty is. So they would get the royalty for that irrespective of the top.
Okay, so the royalty is for the mechanism. So even if we change the top design any other design from our team, you will still get the for the
Look,
mechanism.
when in doubt, we will always support the person who designs this. There is no win for us in trying to do this, because this is not a one-year contest. This is something we want to find as a way of solving problems. So when in doubt, we will always support your claim for it.
Thank you so much, Mithun. That's really, I think, assuring to a lot of designers, because I've heard a lot of cases where designers have been cheated by companies, and I can understand from where these doubts are coming from. So hearing that from you, it's a big relief. And I think that's about it for today. We are done with all the questions. In case you still have any more questions, guys, or if we have missed out any questions to be answered, we will write to you over email and answer those questions. If you still have any doubts, please write to us on designathon@carrotlane.com. We are always there to help you, guide you, and do attend the next webinar on 10th of April. Thank you.
Preeta, I just wanted to make a suggestion. May I?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sure. So this whole point that somebody said that, I'm not good at sketching or drawing, and what do I do? Maybe if the person is good with materials, they could create, with any medium that they are comfortable with, they could create mock-ups of their design. And that way they'll also be able to visualize it in 3D. Yeah. So not everyone is comfortable with sketching, but if they are able to, they could use clay, they could use paper, they could use whatever.
Absolutely. Any medium that can help us understand what your idea is more than welcome. And you can take photographs of this mock-up and send it to you. And if we like it, we might even ask you to courier us the mock-up.
Absolutely.
We are open to work with you any which ways. There's one more question before we close. Can the mechanism be used elsewhere in the world, or do we have to be the first ones to introduce it? Yes, you will have to be the first one to introduce it. It is a contest. It is a designathon. We will not appreciate any entries which already exist in any part of the world. So we have a very big jury team, a global team, for the same reason, because of all our experiences combined. If you try and submit entries which have been worked on in some corner of the world, trust me, we would know. There's a lot of jewelry expertise on this panel, spanning a huge number of years. So we would know. Please do not submit any designs which have already exist in any part of the world. That would not be appreciated. Another question saying all the pieces should have multifunctionality. No, you are not required to have multifunctional pieces. You have to just solve the one functional problem that you are attempting at. So please don't worry about having multifunctionality in all the pieces. We will leave that to Frederick as of now. He's the master in that. We will not get into that for all the problem statements here. And that's about it. We are done with the question and answers. Thank you so much for your time, Mithun, Kinnari, Shimul, and Frederick. Thank you so much for being with us on this afternoon. And thank you all of you who spend your afternoon listening to us and understanding what CarrotLane Designathon is all about. Please write to us, talk to us, and if you have any doubts, email us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you so much.
Frederick. Thank you, Shimul. Thank you, Preeta.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.